Good afternoon. I'm Shelli Yoder, and while I don't have the honor of serving you in the Senate in this district, I do serve the amazing people of Senate District 40, which I live in Bloomington, and Senate District 40 is most of Monroe County. And I also serve in the capacity as the Senate Minority Leader. I serve on healthcare as the ranking minority member. I serve on education. I serve as the ranking member on agriculture, natural resources. I'm on rules, and our days are very full. And our weekends are even fuller. I am actually down here. It just was a wonderful coincidence that my daughter is in, she's playing right now, a tennis tournament at Silver Creek. So I said, I will absolutely be there. I've watched her play a game already, and I can be here, and she can actually continue playing. I don't know there. But I wanted to be here because one thing we know for sure is people are feeling helpless, scared, overwhelmed, and those feelings are being felt by our most vulnerable. What we're seeing from the federal government is connecting directly to what we're hearing at the State House. I want to spend a few minutes talking about Medicaid. One of the first bills we've heard, and one of the first priority bills filed at the State House, was a significant cut to our Medicaid program. It's Senate Bill 2. Because it was filed in the Senate, we heard it in the Senate first. That bill, as introduced, had several components. One, it would put a cap on the number of individuals who would be eligible to receive Medicaid. It would make that cut. Currently, Indiana has about 700,000 individuals on the HIP 2.0 program. And it would just arbitrarily take that number to 500,000. It also puts into place an employment requirement that if you are eligible to be on Medicaid, in order to receive Medicaid, there will be an employment requirement. It also has, as part of Senate Bill 2, a re-eligibility component requiring those who are eligible and on Medicaid to make sure they are eligible repeatedly throughout the year. And if you miss your re-eligibility, you will be dropped. Of those components of Senate Bill 2, the one that you were successful in defeating and getting out was the arbitrary cap. So that arbitrary cap is no longer there. But the re-eligibility, yes, give it up for me. Because when we heard that bill, it literally was like the first or second week of Senate, when we heard that bill, at that point, they sort of, it's like testing the waters to see if boosters are paying attention. And while we had those amendments and we fought them on the floor, it passed out of the Senate with all of those components in it. And then they got a big wake-up call that we're not going to take it sitting down. And you came to the State House. You were loud about your disagreements with these arbitrary caps and limits, re-eligibility, and employment requirements to access essential health care. You know, I remember when we used to say health care is a right. But I'm shifting that message to health care is a need. It's more than a right. It is just a basic need that we as humans need. And we must demand it. And we must must make our voices very loud when they threaten to take it away. Medicaid, those dollars, 90% come directly from the federal government. Indiana, it's not even, I mean, we have healthcare component in our budget, but the majority of those dollars come from the federal government. And Indiana has what's called a trigger law, that if those funds drop below 90%, our expansion of Medicaid ends immediately. So that's why we need you, and that's why we need you to fight for us. We need our Indiana delegation of congressional leaders fighting for Hoosiers to make sure that Medicaid is funded and to not advance a false narrative that it is fiscally responsible to take away someone's health care. It is irresponsible because in the end, those funds taken away from Indiana will cost us more. When we remove access to health care, we already know this, and have we not learned our lesson that it drives people to the emergency room, shooting up all of our health care costs. So we need to continue to be loud and be clear in our message. Please fight for us. Fight for Indiana's most vulnerable. Fight for the basic need for healthcare access. Scott County, Washington County, these are rural, beautiful parts of Indiana. And not only is SB 2 going to make access to Medicaid unnecessarily and self-inflicted harder for Hoosiers, but there are additional bills that are going to have significant impact on our rural hospitals and access to rural care. I need you to pay attention to House Bill 1003 and House Bill 1004. Those bills are moving through. We will be hearing those on seconds tomorrow. No, Monday. I've lost track of my days. On Monday. We will hear those on seconds. It moved through the House already, and now we are moving its way through the Senate, and it will be on seconds on Monday, and it will either pass or not pass on Tuesday. We'll even repeat the numbers. House Bill 1003, House Bill 1004. Those have significant impact on care access for our rural hospitals. Because what's happening with those two bills is they are one of the components is requiring a certain percentage of Medicaid, capping it on all services. But unfortunately, some services cost more than other services. And if a nonprofit hospital exceeds that on these bills, then what will happen is they will lose their nonprofit status until they fix those prices. Now, this is what we are doing to healthcare, what we've already done to education, and that is pushing us towards privatization. And when we privatize healthcare, then the value there is profit. Is profit. And I'm not saying that nonprofit hospitals aren't making a profit, but there are certain qualifications to receive the label as nonprofit. But for-profit hospitals top of the list, labor and delivery. And that's why across our state, we have lost so many of our labor and delivery units in our rural hospitals. In addition to losing our rural hospitals, those that still exist, many of them have closed their labor and delivery units. It's just so expensive. In addition to labor and delivery, cardiology is a very expensive, these are expensive services. So when we cap them all the same, it makes it difficult for our rural hospitals to provide care and to have all of these healthcare areas available. So pay attention to House Bill 1003 and House Bill 1004 as well. I will say this because it was shocking. I recognize we all have choices. We have choices. And my colleague in the Senate, I even hesitate to say this, but one of these bills, I think you might know him, Senator Garden. Do you know him? One of these, he's the sponsor of the Senate. And when he was presenting the bill in health, and this real concern about rural hospitals came up, he said, look, Hoosiers don't have to live in rural Indiana. This was, you can see it was left online. He said, you don't have to live there. And I get it, we all have choices. But that really isn't a choice for many Hoosiers. No. And let me just put in a little caveat before we move to our next speaker. When we are hearing a bill, House Bill 1008, to create a commission to welcome Illinois counties, because those rural communities don't like paying the property taxes that they have to pay, and that our state house is prioritizing the needs of Illinoisans over the needs of Hoosiers is unconscionable. So we will also be hearing that bill this week on Tuesday for thirds and passing it through the Senate. So yes, that is a good response. I won't say that in my book. Who you can talk to bring your concern. Please continue making noise. I promise you, it's because of, I know it seems hopeless, but it doesn't. You do make a difference. House Bill 1003 and 1004, Senate Bill 2, these bills are changing because you are making noise and refusing Shelli, Shelli, Yoder, Yoder, at IGA, which is the Indiana General Assembly, iga.in.gov. If you need something, you are more than welcome to email me. So thank you for inviting me to say a few words about Medicaid and Medicaid access. Because healthcare is a what? Healthcare is a need. And thank you.